now I have one question for you. What's happening in your neighborhood? Good evening. I'm Carlton Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church right here in Beaumont, Texas. And we're here on what's happening in our neighborhood. And today I got a special guest that's going to bless you, Mr. Ben Tanker. But before I bring him on, hey, listen, if you need prayer, there's several ways whereby you can get your prayer requests to us. If you're watching by way of live stream, there's a box right there. Just put in your prayer request and send it to us. If you're watching by way of Facebook Live, you can message us your prayer request. If you want to send it to us by way of email, you can send it to prayer ministry at fccc-bmt.org. Or if you want to text it to us, you can text PR to 54244. Or if you're on our new mobile app, there's a Need Prayer tile on the app. Just simply click the button, follow the simple instructions, put in your prayer request, and send it to us. Whether you want to send it by way of text, message us, email it to us, we'll get it, and we'll begin to pray with you and pray for you. And so there he is right there, Mr. Ben Tanker. Welcome, Ben.
We are in the house, my brother. We are in the house. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, man, I am doing wonderful. It is so good to see. It's just like you left here just a few days ago.
Y'all can't get rid of me. I always have a great time to you guys.
Yeah, you family now, Ben.
Always have it.
Hey, listen,
Oh,
Ben.
yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, most people remember me as either a basketball player or a musician or a reality star. But let me give you just a short synopsis. I was born in Daytona Beach and grew up in Central Florida, moved around quite a bit, several different cities. My parents were migrant farmers, and so we just followed the crops. And so we ended up moving into 3 or 4 different cities, and we were very, very poor. But I was tall, and so I started playing basketball at a very early 'age. And so when I got ready to graduate from high school, I had several scholarship offers for band, tuba. I was a tuba player, and basketball. I'm being 6'6", I play ball. And I took the basketball scholarship and went to college, dropped out early to go pro, and actually had an opportunity to play pro ball. But I got injured when I was moved over from the minor league to the NBA. And I was injured my first year. And so that's what really led me to God. I went to church and God saved me. And I began to play piano. I was anointed by a man of God to play piano basically overnight. And that's my story, man. Now I'm with you guys and got a lot of awards to celebrate. So that's an in-between of all that which we can talk about. But the bottom line is I was a pro baller, lost the contract, got saved, and God put me on his team that is undefeated.
Yes, undefeated. Hey, Ben, but now, where you are right now is not where you started from. Talk to us about that.
And I get that question so often, too. Let me tell you where I am right now. You are interviewing me, and I'm in Tennessee in my main home, which is a 13,000 square foot mansion. It's beautiful. I'm looking over my lake outside here. Got multiple cars in the yard. We're right behind an airport where I have 2 airplanes over there that I own. I'm a pilot. And then when I get tired of this place, we got vacation homes in 3 other states, Michigan, Florida, and Georgia. I've got 15 gold records on the wall back over here, 6 platinum records, a lot of Stellar Awards, and I'm happy, man. So that's the story now. And that's what people get to see on our reality TV show. And the producers, they want you to see the wealth. They don't want you to see anything that represents struggle. Producers, they just want the bling bling. But the story behind that is when I was a kid, I had to shovel chicken brood on a chicken farm. Now, how about that? How about that? And then later on, after I became a basketball player and got cut, it was a 5-year period between getting anointed to play and actually getting my music job. So that 5-year in between, I was a dog catcher, catching 12 dogs a day and about to lose my job because I couldn't meet my quota. Come on now. I'm like, I got to believe God to catch these dogs because somebody about to get their dog stolen. So that's some of the backstory. People see the glory, but they don't know the story.
So Ben, hold up. So you wasn't meeting your quota, so you had to go snatch somebody else's dog.
Man, if you let that dog out to walk and he didn't have a collar, he's going to jail. Hell!
So Ben, so after being the dog catcher, I think you said you would go to the music store and just practice your craft.
Yeah, on my lunch break, I would go to the music store that sold pianos. I didn't have the money to buy it, but it doesn't cost anything to test drive. So I'd go to the music store on my lunch break and I'd sit down and I'd start playing the piano on my lunch break with my dog catching uniform on. And people would gather around and see me playing. And one day, a lady that was in the store shopping heard me playing, and she tells the store owner, "Hey, I'll buy the piano that the dog catcher's playing." And this kept happening until finally the store owner hired me to become a keyboard demonstrator. So get this, you got to see the chronological order. Picking peas, strawberries, collecting cans, shoveling chicken manure, dog catching, keyboard demonstrator, now recording artist.
Wow. So that was a process, and not just go from picking berries to a 13,000 square foot house with 2 planes in the background. I see your aviation little machine behind you.
Yeah, that's my flight simulator. So I'll go put the light on so you can see it better. So I'm actually able to come on here and fly my airplane and when I'm at home. So if you can see all that, I can.
Don't crash it, Ben. Don't crash it.
So I'm able to practice my plane if the weather's bad. I said I can do my flying inside.
Okay, so Ben, so once you get the contract to start playing and being a musician, what took place after that?
Well, it was a process because I did my first record when I was working at the music store. This God working behind the scenes because I was able to purchase equipment for half price. So I'm able to put together a home studio and start recording people in the community. We're on a community show right now. And so I was not trying to go national at first. I'm just trying to go local. I'm trying to go county, city, state. I started recording people for $10 and $20 an hour. And for the cards, and I started making more money after work from working as a keyboard demonstrator. I started making more in my home studio after work than I was making as the keyboard demonstrator. So I quit doing that and started doing my home studio work full time.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to produce my own recording because people and having success locally, making other people's demos. Somebody said, "Man, you ought to make your own record." And that's when I did my first record, all keyed up. And a company from Nashville heard about it and moved me from.
Hey, but you didn't originally play the keyboards. You played the tuba. So talk to us about how that experience when the bishop anointed your hands.
Well, you know, God is a God that has a sense of humor because, you know, I had no idea that God had this all planned for me. I knew God loved me and I knew that my life was supposed to be better than it was. But I thought that my way to having that successful life would be through pro basketball. And when that didn't happen, I went to church and the minister prayed for my hands and told me to sit on the piano. Carlton, it was as if you could wake up in the morning and speak German or several different languages. It was like God added a whole new dimension to my mind. And I was just playing like I could always play. It was just, God had just breathed revelation into me. It wasn't education, it wasn't learned, it was discerned. And I've been flowing with that ever since. Right since that day, it has been very hard to talk me out of believing God for anything. That's why I'm in a big house. That's why I fly my own airplane. That's why I preach to people all the time that I believe God wants you to be a millionaire. Because you're looking at somebody that used to shovel chicken manure, that now I have all this. So if you're going to talk somebody out of prosperity, I ain't the one.
Okay, hey Ben, so you start producing other people's records after you got into it. Tell us, hey, something interesting happened to you with a company that asked you to go find talent. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked that because this company moved me from Tallahassee, Florida to Nashville, Tennessee. God put me on a whole different path. So here I am in Nashville, don't know anybody in the city, don't know. Only thing I had ever heard about Nashville was hee haw. I didn't even know Black people lived in Nashville. And so they moved me to Nashville and said, we want you to be the president of a new Black gospel record label. Now, it's a white gospel label that hires me. And they can see down the road that Black gospel is really going to be taking off. So they signed me as an instrumental artist and staff producer. And they say, well, we want you to produce some other artists. Just name your title. What do you want to be called? I said, just call me president of Tribute Records. So I got to help create a division that was mine. And they gave me $1 million budget. They said, you got to make this money back in 3 years, I think. And you got to go sign some artists. So, man, I started looking under every rock. And there was a rock in Houston, Tennessee, that had a 6 foot tall, skinny, third grade school teacher under that rock. Yolanda Adams.
Yolanda Adams.
And I produced Yolanda. I had to write a letter to her principal to get her off. I had to write a letter to Yolanda's principal so she could get off work for 2 weeks to come into the studio. And I had to write a letter to her mother because she didn't believe I was for real. So that's how I got going with producing, man.
That is awesome. So I mean, just look at the progression from a chicken manure picker-upper, a strawberry crop picker, a dog catcher, then to a piano enthusiast in the store, to producing your own records and finding Yolanda Adams.
Yeah, I found Yolanda Adams as an artist. I found my wife Jewel as my wife. I found a new career, but God had to clean me up because Yolanda would not have given me the time of day as a recording artist. And my wife, Jewel, would not have given me the time of day as a husband. Had I met either one of them when I was shoveling chicken manure.
Thank God for his grace and mercy.
I call it the anointing of time. Time and soap is your friend.
Hey Ben, what would you tell young up-and-coming artists about the industry right now?
That there is no industry. There is no industry. Nobody cares about industry. Nobody cares about record labels. People care about people, and people care about how you make them feel. If you make somebody feel good, if you make somebody laugh, if you make somebody feel loved, if you make somebody feel like they want to make love to their spouse, if you make somebody feel like they want to worship their God, it's all about how you make. That's what makes music successful. If music does not move you to a feeling, it is not successful. So don't get into, man, I sure would like to get a record deal with Warner Brothers. Nobody gives two left feet about Warner Brothers. They want to know, does this song you trying to get me to buy, does it sound good? Does it make my head move? And does it make my heart feel good? That's all it is. So you don't need a record label for that, new artist. Just whatever God has given you, use the same streams that the big labels are going to use if they were to sign you. Your social media, YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, there's 1,000 of them. Use all those, upload your gift, and keep uploading it until somebody cares, because one day somebody will. And if nobody has discovered you yet, if nobody has discovered and started embracing your talent yet, it might be because you still smell like you doing the chicken manure rather than catching dogs or working at the music store. It's just a matter of time before God cleans you up to where your gift is presentable that can bring you all this.
Hey, Ben, is that your music I hear on the Weather Channel?
Absolutely, and they better send me my check too. And man, let me tell you something, Cardinal, and you know this as a minister, you never outgrow having to wait on God. No matter what level you get to, even those of us who have, we're all waiting on something. So learn how to take what God has given you, enjoy it right now. When I first got signed by that record company, and they said, we want you to be our producer, we're going to put your record out. When they put my record out, they sent it to all the radio stations, and they made the wrong presentation. When you send a record to a radio station, you're supposed to be like, oh my God, you ain't heard of gospel jazz? That's this new Ben Tankard. He's invented something called gospel jazz. You've got to play this. That's how you present. You advertise with enthusiasm. But my people who were promoting this record, they had never heard anything called gospel jazz. And so if you get heavy rotation, that's 6 times a day. If you get medium rotation, that's 3 times a day. If you get light rotation, that's 1 time a day. So we were just believing to get once a day with all these thousands of radio stations out here. But when they sent it to them, this is what they said, Carter. We don't know what we have.
Oh my goodness.
We never heard of this guy. We never heard of gospel jazz. We don't know what this is. So will you just work it into rotation any way you can, and we'll appreciate it. I was like, oh. I thought that was the kiss of death, because they were not presenting me like I was worth listening to. But this was God working behind the scenes. At that time, those 1,000 gospel stations did not have music that they could play behind their commercials, behind their prayers, and behind all their bumper music and advertisements and in between. So because Ben Tankard was the first that sent them gospel songs in an instrumental form, they began to play me on all their commercials, which was sometimes 10 to 15 an hour times 1,000 stations. Wow. So I'm getting all these thousands of rotations. And instead of being 6 times a day like I would have gotten if I was Kirk Franklin or Yolanda Adams, I was getting 10 to 15 an hour times 1,000 stations. So, and every time they played it, they had to send my publisher a nickel. So I got paid. So I was getting like 5,000 nickels a day. I'm like, man, I was rich before I was famous.
Wow, wow. Amazing. Now hey man, that's encouraging to somebody that's watching today. That I mean, 1,000 nickels a day adds up.
Come on. 1,000. So if 1,000 stations play you 10 and 12 times a day, that's 8,000 plays. That's 8,000 nickels. Come on now, you can scrape out 8,000 nickels a day.
Well, look like you got more than 8,000 nickels now.
And so, I wasn't doing it for that. I wasn't doing it for that. But at the same time, if you want to be able to keep on doing what you love, you got to get paid for it, so you can make all the other stuff go away.
Okay. Hey Ben, now you and Jewel do a syndicated television broadcast. Talk to us about that.
Well, we started with Bravo, and we did 3 seasons over a 5-year period with the Bravo network with our show, Thicker Than Water, The Tankards. Massive success, 14 million viewers just the first year alone. And so with that success, we developed our own following. So after we got to the end of our contract with Bravo, we decided to be able to have more say-so as executive producers, because the more drama that you have, the more drama that they want. And so my Tank Clan does have a little drama, but we didn't want to have to start creating it and doing stuff intentionally just to get viewership like the Atlanta Housewives. So we had kind of solved all of our problems on camera. All of our issues were just kind of resolved. And so we got to the point where we were actually a little too nice and a little too wholesome for the Bravo network. So rather than go back to them and re-sign our contract and have to do what they told us to do, throwing water on each other, rolling eyes, doing mean stuff, we decided to just do our own executive producing, which we're doing right now. And when the show comes back out later this year, it'll just be called The Tankards rather than Thicker Than Water, because they own that name. And so we can just be ourselves. It'll be more of what you've already seen, but it won't be anything made up. I'm not, and Carter, I don't have, and I don't think you have. I don't have the kind of wife that I could throw water on at the dinner table.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not, Ben.
Don't be handing me no note under the table talking about in 2 minutes. Throw this orange juice. Why? You're not even sending me that note, Mr. Producer. I am not throwing this juice on my wife. First of all, this juice is good. Second of all, you ain't gonna have Jewel killing me. She from Detroit.
Oh, that's good. Hey, Ben, your story sounds like Jabez. That Jabez asked God to bless him indeed, enlarge his coast, and that God would be with him.
I love that story because I look at the prayer of Jabez when it says, when bless me indeed. I really define that. I translate that as him telling God, Lord, send me somebody who needs me. So of course we get blessed and everything, but the true blessing is being able to be a blessing to someone else. And what I really like about doing the reality show, I didn't tell you this when I spent some time with you last month, but when we do the reality show, Carter, the biggest thrill about doing that show is that while we're shooting for 4 to 6 months, it allows me to provide jobs for 150 people.
Wow. Awesome.
People don't know how much of a crew it takes behind the scenes to make a production come back. And so when the studios say, here's how much we're going to spend on this, people have to be hired. And they're hired because of me. Now, I wasn't able to personally hire people for $150, 150 people, as a salary. But because I got a $1 billion studio behind me and have my own reality show, I'm able to provide 150 jobs that I would not have been able to provide without that. That means a lot more to me than all the fame and population and the salary that I get from the event.
Man, that is good. But Ben, I also like another thing that you do. I mean, you go to those small churches, that others might just pass over when sharing their talents.
I do, man, because I believe that small communities and small churches, those people are just as important as if they had 30,000 other people sitting behind them. I'm that way with everything. I fly an airplane that has 6 seats. One airplane has 4 seats. The other airplane has 6 seats. I'm only coming to Texas to see my friend Carlton. Me and my pilot and my wife, maybe a couple kids. So why would I need a plane that has 200 more seats behind me if it's just me and my wife and kids? So small things matter. So small churches matter, small groups matter. Jesus had 12 disciples. There was the mega out there, but who he spent time with the most was 12. He didn't spend time with the masses as much as he spent time with 12. So I try to walk in the shadow of Jesus. Jesus walked among the people. Jesus didn't say, unless you meet my quota, unless you have a certain amount of people here, I can't even come minister, because I don't want to make my name embarrassed because I worked too hard to get my branding done. Forget that noise. God gave me this talent, so I will take it wherever he tells me. And in doing so, he's made me, from what I can see, you're out here too, he's made me just as successful or more than the people that beat you up for big ticket prices.
Yeah. That's good, Ben. Man, look, I appreciate you. Now, we're a mega church in Beaumont, though. You came to the mega church in Beaumont.
Man, I'm so excited to be connected to you guys, man, because I would go anywhere where there was a runway and an invitation.
Well, you always have an invitation to come here to Beaumont. Hey, Ben, now, in just a few moments, we're going to do something, one of your new videos that you just came out with in just a few moments. Talk to us about that.
Well, I'm excited about this song because it's something that we all need and want sometimes. And it's called Afternoon Nap. When do you take your most naps? Is it Sunday afternoon, Pastor Sharp?
Yeah, man, I tell you, when I come home from church, eat, I'm gone.
So this is every pastor on Sunday afternoon between 7.
Yep. That's true, Ben. That's so true. That's so true. Hey, well, listen, I'm going to roll into Ben Tankard Afternoon Nap official video right now. We'll be right back right after this. That was hot, man. Glory to God. That was real good, man.
Man, I never get tired of playing, man. I never get tired of giving my gift. We did that latter part of last year, yes, sir.
Oh man, now who was that saxophone player?
That was Kyle Strader on sax. He is my sax player. He's a sax player in my band. He's a great guy, great musician.
Hey, Ben, finally, before we wrap up today, I seen that big old truck in that video too, man.
Yeah, man. You know I like big old vehicles, man. Yeah, I'm 6'6", so I'm not a car guy.
Hey, well, Ben, look, I want to thank you for taking out this time today to come talk with us on what's happening in our neighborhood. And man, I sure appreciate you. I thank you for being family. That's what you are to us, man. You're family. You're down to earth. I mean, you just every man's man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. You and I, we've been friends for over 20 years now. I'm so proud of you as my brother in the Lord, what you and your wife are doing in the community. What a great church you have. What a great family you have. And I love the joy of the Lord that is always upon you, my friend. I think it is so important to have a vision for tomorrow. It's important to have those schematics and those printouts and those pictures and posters and things that inspire you for tomorrow. But you also have to make time to give God praise for the present. You know, I'm very good friends with Joel Osteen. I work with him extensively on his Night of Hope trips around the country. And the thing that I've learned from Joel, who is the top minister in the U.S. right now, the biggest church here, the thing I learned most from hanging with Joel is this. He says, then people usually go from living in the past to living in the future. And in doing so, they miss the entire life.
Yeah.
Because you live your life in the present. And the present is a gift. So unless you learn how to receive the present as a gift and say thank you, you really miss your life, because that's where you spend all your time, in the present.
Well, Ben, that's a good word for those who are watching today, to live your life now in the present, regardless of this coronavirus or COVID-19.
Oh, yeah. And let me say something about that, if you don't mind, before we get off, man.
Yeah.
There are a lot of the conspiracy theories as to where this thing came from, where it is going. And I just want to encourage you, in this situation and in any situation in your life, you never want to trade what you do know for what you don't know.
Oh,
what do I mean by that? We don't know where this we don't know where this thing came from, or they don't know really how to get rid of it, if they would have done it already. So you don't want to trade what you don't know with what you do know. You do know that God is still on the throne. You do know that God is good. We take a couple examples from the past of the Bible. We know this, that Goliath was not created to take David out. Goliath was created to make David famous. Same thing with this virus. It's going to make us all famous.
Oh, Jesus, that's good, man. That's so good, man. Well, again, I want to thank you for joining us today, Ben. I really appreciate you taking the time and even showing us your jet thing back there, man. You got to take me on the plane.
Oh, yes, do it, man. Anytime, brother. Anytime. You just got to fasten your seatbelt. That's all.
Well, once again, Ben, thank you so much for joining us. And look, hey, listen, I want to thank you for joining us today, for being on What's Happening in Our Neighborhood. I want to thank Ben again. I hope you enjoyed that new record that Ben has, Afternoon Nap. And look, I'm about to go take one right now. So listen, I want to thank you again for joining us. You have a blessed day all day. We'll see you next time on What's Happening in Our Neighborhood. God bless you, and bye-bye. Now I have one question for you. What's happening in your neighborhood?